Redeemer Community Church began as an idea. A few families living in Fuquay-Varina and longing to be part of a church centered on the gospel and characterized by deep community took a step of faith, leaving a comfortable, established church and renting a hot high school cafeteria in order to make their dream a reality. From the very first days, God's blessing on Redeemer has been evident. When we lost our initial worship space, God provided a new, better location. When we outgrew that location, He provided a larger auditorium for us to use. God has blessed us with new people and new faces. We've seen neighbors come to church, respond to the gospel, and be baptized. And we've seen many of our own children grow up and choose to publicly identify with Jesus Christ through baptism. We planted churches in Sun Prairie, Wisconsin, and Sanford, North Carolina, one just a couple years after Redeemer began. The other started by a group of Redeemer families who relocated to a new community to reach people with the gospel. We've partnered with churches in different nations to make disciples and train leaders. Over the past decade, we've sent dozens of workers and hundreds of thousands of dollars to encourage and strengthen God's work throughout the world. When I think about where we are now, and I think back to where we began, I'm overwhelmed by God's kindness to us. We didn't have all the details figured out when we started. We just had a burning desire to live in deep community and to share the gospel with our community. God has done far beyond what we had any right to expect.
Redeemer has made me feel like a part of their family and a part of God's family, and that I want to continue to grow in this church and this membership and this family and reach out to other people in the community that might be going through the same thing that I've been going through and need a family like Redeemer.
While growth brings plenty of new opportunities, it also comes with unique challenges. The most obvious challenge is space for worship on Sundays and for ministry throughout the week. But our concern is greater than not finding space or even losing our space. We're concerned about lost opportunity. Fuquay-Varina has grown 267% in the past 20 years, with a population increase of 15,000 since Redeemer began. How many of our new neighbors have looked for a church like Redeemer? How many of them even know Redeemer exists? The opportunity will only increase in the coming years. And we don't want to lose more opportunities to introduce our new neighbors to Christ and allow them to experience true transformational community. After 11 years of laying a solid foundation, God has given us an increased sense of opportunity and urgency that now is the time to build a permanent home in this community and secure space for future generations to worship. Beyond that, God has given us new opportunities to partner both locally and globally for long-term gospel impact. Now is the time to step forward by faith in 3 ways. First, it's time to build. In order to do that, we'll have to pay off the remaining portion of the land on Wagstaff Road. On our land, we'll build a multi-purpose space that can be used for weekly worship. Our new facility will allow for weekday ministry, Bible study, and special events, Reborn and Refresh, men's and women's studies, Christmas Eve and Good Friday services. All of these will now have a permanent home. Second, it's time to partner. In the coming years, we anticipate additional opportunities to invest in church planting and revitalization, as well as equipping young pastors and church leaders. We want to further develop our church partnerships locally and globally. Third, it's time to go. We want to continue to send short-term teams and long-term workers to assist partner churches overseas. We have a desire to send church planting teams to Portland, Oregon, and to the Balkans. Plus, we believe a permanent building in Fuquay will help us develop new ways to serve and bless our local community.
I'm excited about Redeemer's Go approach here to take the gospel to the nations because it allows many other members here to get involved. And I've seen the power in taking people on trips and seeing the change that happens in their lives. But also here in Fuquay, we have the opportunity to do mission right here in Falcon Park and minister to the kids of our own community.
What does it look like for us to respond to what God is calling us to do? Over the next 2 years, our mission requires a financial investment of $2.4 million. Half will go to fund our current ministries and half will fund our new building. All of the giving we do over the next 24 months will go to one fund. We won't separate our building fund from our ministry fund because the building is for ministry. We're not asking you to add a new line to your giving. We're asking you to evaluate and rethink your giving as a whole. Our goal is for 100% of Redeemer families to join this 2-year initiative. We're excited to see a new building rise out of the dirt. We're excited to see our partnerships expand and plant new churches. But what excites us most is to see God move in real, powerful, unmistakable ways as we commit ourselves to Him. When we were thinking about how God is leading us as a church and how to make it clear, we kept coming back to two words. It's time. It's time is a recognition of the urgency of the moment and the tremendous opportunities God is giving us as a church right now. When God gave King David permission to gather the materials necessary to build the temple in Jerusalem, David invited the people to join him in giving God their best. He asked them, "Now who will volunteer to consecrate himself to the Lord today?" God is inviting us into His work, and we join His work by giving ourselves fully to Him today, not next month or next year, but today. It's time to respond to God's invitation. It's time to answer His call. It's time to step forward as a church.